Hey, welcome to Life Fulfilled Podcast. I'm very excited about today's episode. We've got a man who is very exciting, very loving, just a great person, and he is also a man that cannot be put into a box. He's got over 4 decades of martial arts experience, 3 decades of experience in the fitness industry. He has 2 decades of nightclub security experience. For 10 years, he traveled around the globe to over, I believe, 20 countries, certifying men and women to become Krav Maga instructors, doing seminars and rank testing. He was also the first non-Israeli on the International Krav Maga Federation instructors team. So he's super cool, super awesome, really good at training. This man's name is Marcus Torgerson. Check this episode out and enjoy. Marcus, thanks for being here today, man. Been so excited to have you on.
Oh, I'm stupid excited.
Yeah, no problem. So a little bit about this little podcast I've got going. Been a little bit of a slow start just due to, life, but with it being life fulfilled, I'm not trying to just target business people or some certain demographic. I want everybody to be able to profit from this type of podcast. So we're going after CEOs. We're talking to people like you. We've got everyone on here lined up. So it's going to be awesome. And I'm learning a ton. I'm sure you'll learn from the conversation, and hopefully everybody who listens will learn as well. So I'm just really excited to have you on. So thank you. With you, I wanted to see if you could explain.
Again,
oh yeah, no problem. And I wanted to see if you could just explain a teeny bit about yourself. How'd you get into what you're doing? And then I want to just kind of hear about childhood, growing up, so we can really go down to the roots and see what put Marcus where he is now.
All right, good call. Well, I'm primarily known, obviously, in the defensive tactics, martial arts, Hayya kind of world. And I started that when I was 10 years old. Doing traditional martial arts. I did traditional martial arts all the way up until 2005, where I was introduced to the world of Krav Maga, which is an Israeli self-defense system. Martial arts in general has been something that I have ate, slept, drank. It is definitely something I identify as Marcus Torgerson, the blah, 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 Hayya person. 16 years of Krav Maga up until recently. I retired from a teaching team based out of Israel, where for 10 years my job was to travel around the world certifying men and women to become Krav Maga instructors. I did workshops and seminars and testings, and it was a great job, a fantastic job. Being the only non-Israeli on the team at the time, I was the first one, was a blessing that I could never have asked for. I couldn't even imagine that opportunity happening. And that's so basically from 10 until now. And I shouldn't say until now, because to this day, I'm still involved in learning and educating and understanding why violence happens, how it happens, what's the best options to dealing with it. So I wouldn't say I'm finished with teaching. I'm just going in a different direction, but everything from 10 till now has given me a humongous amount of insight and understanding of what violence is and why we behave the way we do when violence visits us.
Now, what was childhood like for you?
How long we got on this thing? Well, I'll give you the Coles Note version. My childhood was, I grew up with a single mom. My father died when I was very, very young. My mother was a functioning alcoholic, very violent, angry, but alcoholic. It's amazing. Everything I'm going to say is going to sound like tragedy, but it was not. The tragedies, everything I'm saying, I'm precursing this so that people are like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? There's a humongous light at the end of this at this end of this dark tunnel. So my mother was an alcoholic. She was very clear about she didn't want me. I was a botched abortion, violence. I was very bad in school, which, you know, is not surprising given the upbringing that I had. I was sexually molested by two different men at two different times of my life. Once when I was 10, and then in my teen years as from my martial arts, one of my martial arts instructors. Got involved in gangs, violence, just everything that you could possibly do negatively in your life. I did. However, that being said, at my age now, I look back and it was all turned around in a blessing for me to experience every single one of those
Well,
things.
thanks for sharing it. Sorry, I don't want to like sound like I'm digging,
So
but
that's
being trained by you myself, the biggest thing I love to learn
no, I
is
want you to.
Why are you here now? So it is amazing to hear. And it, you know, so much can happen in life, and a lot of people use it as a crutch. I mean, I have at times. And once you learn to not use it as a crutch, and there really just isn't an excuse, you just go and you figure it out. And I don't know.
No, and I agree with you. And I think that I'm okay with a crutch. I'm okay with a crutch because at some point, and I need to qualify that. I understand the concept of the crutch because when you are moving forward and you're thinking about all the stuff that's happened in your life, it can be overwhelming, depressing, angering, all of that. And at some point in time, you need to take a knee. At some point in time, you need to take a knee and reflect on, wow, I've survived and thrived through blank, 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 blank. So the hard part is, though, taking the knee and then using that time to say, oh, woe is me, instead of looking at my scenario in an upbringing, what can I do to help my fellow human being and myself to get better and not survive and thrive, but flourish.
I totally agree. And I think maybe after you bring that up, I think the whole crutch term that's such a cliche is probably poorly used in most scenarios, just like how I had just mentioned it, because you're totally right. If you just pent it all up inside, that's when you're going to explode. So,
and we're losing millions of people a year as a result of that, keeping that in, and shame and guilt. And what saddens me is that shame and guilt is coming from a specific place, and it's whispering in your ear, and and you're surrounding probably yourself with a bunch of negative losers who are just like, and feeding into that. And you don't get a breath of fresh air that comes in and been like, listen, you went through A, B, and C. You're not a piece of crap. You're not a loser. You can help someone else, which indirectly will help you because you have to cope and find coping mechanisms that are healthy, not destructive ones, which anybody who has grown up anywhere remotely, the people listening who have gone through more or less than what I or you have gone through, the commonality is it's not a comparison. Our commonality is, I understand that you went through A, B, and C. Let me use my garbage, turn it into something decent, and let's work on it together, right? Like I think that's the hard part to swallow is I need to go to my friend Kevin and say, Kev, I'm having a tough time of whatever it is. And your job as my friend is to shut up and listen, let me get it out, and then say, and be honest, I don't have the answers for it, but you know what? Let's find some solutions together so I don't feel alone, so that the enemy can't whisper in my ear, hey, nobody loves you, you're all alone, you're a piece of crap, you're useless. Well, I can't, that's not true, because I've got my friend Kevin saying, hey, let's find out an answer together.
Maybe I can't solve the problem, but I can be here to love you and support you. So that's a big thing I learned growing up is,
which our planet needs more of. Our planet needs more grace and compassion and empathy. but there's still a place for tough love, right? Addicts, our fentanyl problem is going through the roof. Our kids, we're losing kids left, right, and center. And hugging and nurturing isn't always the answer. A little bit of a smack and grabbing them by the throat and being like, I love you. We need to get through this together. And well, you trained with me, so you understand my tough love approach.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that we're still, especially men, we're just so bad at just not saying, hey, by the way, I'm not okay right now. And I just need somebody to listen.
Which is upbringing, right? That's cultural. It's and having been raised by women my entire life, foster homes, group homes, I didn't have a lot of men in my life, so I have no idea when they say, be a man. I have no idea what being a man is. But I do know that the Bolsheviks of be hard, be tough, don't cry, don't show emotion. That's crap. It is absolute crap. And I believe that it is whispered in our ear to do that because whoever's whispering in our ear knows that our chemical makeup as a man is, the more I hold it in, the more of a time bomb I become. And at some point in time, I'm going to explode. And somebody's sitting back there eating popcorn going, another one bites the dust. Because we believe that lie of you need to sit there and do that to be a man.
Completely. And I learned growing up when you mentioned, just being there to support you and be quiet and just listen. Maybe I don't have an answer for you. I just learned how important it was, the fact that I didn't need to solve everybody's problems. And I've learned a lot with a lot of the work I've been doing. A lot of that anger I have built up inside me isn't like tough guy Kevin anger. It's like scared little boy anger. And I need to get in touch with that little boy and figure out what he needs. 4-year-old Kevin, what does he need? So I can't see you, by the way, but
yeah. Well, and now remember, I'm going to say this, that when we sit there and we talk about, and again, I'm not a professional, so if anybody listening to this who's a professional and they start screaming at their screen watching this or listening to this, understand that I'm not a professional. However, when we talk back, like if I go and say, well, Marcus at 10 needs to come to terms with all of these things, I would say this, that whatever Marcus needed at 10, whoever that was, I may not be able to fix that, but I sure can be whoever Marcus needed or whoever Kevin needed at that age. I now can be that version of it. I can't go back and fix it. I can't even go back and change it if I wanted to, but I can be whoever Marcus needed at that point in time, whatever. And now the tricky part is many of us don't know what us at that age really truly needed. We may have an imagination part of it, like I needed to be coddled or I needed a hug. Maybe not. Maybe I needed structure. Maybe I needed a swat in the head. Maybe I needed somebody to say whatever. I mean, the fact is no matter what, I'm always going to go with compassion and grace.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the answer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because we don't have
totally agree. Now, with the issues right now, you hear a lot of different opinions from certain people, and that all doesn't matter. I just want your opinion, your thoughts on this. So my wife, for example, she coaches a high school dance team. And nowadays, compared to when I was in high school, 2014, the couple of years before that, I think the new types of bullying are really on the rise. I don't know if it's like, I'm going to beat you up and take your lunch money kind of bullying, but you've got like the cyber bullying, and I'm sure there's plenty of the physical bullies in school. What did you deal with that as a kid at all?
Of course. Listen, let's be really clear about something. Bullying has happened since 100%. We were able to stand upright. There always will be a group or a person that dominates another person, and that's just the way it's going to be. With the invention of the internet and our current scenario right now, I can't even imagine being somebody 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 with all the incredible, first of all, the natural pressures that we have just in hormones and being young. Then the fact that we've got the entire world watching us. Bullies feed off of one thing: insecurity and fear. Insecurity and fear from themselves. They're already insecurity and fear-based. And the smelling of fear and insecurity based off of the person that they're bullying. Bullying can always be dealt with a simple answer. It's a very simple answer: standing up for yourself, regardless of what happens when you stand up for yourself. Meaning, I am a boy or a girl, I have one or two people being verbally or physically abusive, standing up, saying something back to them, and knowing that the minute I say anything or do anything, I am going to get an onslaught of physical or verbal abuse back. But there's no cowering, no turning your back. There's no maybe they'll go away. It has never happened, and it never will happen, because one thing, Kevin, that will never change is human beings are going to be human beings, and our DNA is how we are, and it will never change no matter how much we want to sit there and peace, love, and eternal grooviness it. Violence is going to pay back violence in a scenario where, again, we're talking about our kids' confidence. We have kids killing themselves more now than ever in the history of all time because they do not know how to stand up for themselves. And the parents cannot stand up for their kids because they are, I mean, literally the balance scales have gone back to, and again, I'm somewhere like this. I want it to be moving like this. For 30, 40, 60, 80, 100 years, it was beat up the weak, and the weak never get to fight back. Well, now we get the weak that get to fight back. However, with the weak, whatever the weak is fighting back, the violence that comes towards us is amplified. And I'm kind of going around a bunch of circles here. I want to make sure I'm very clear. So bear with me for a second. To stand up for yourself, as difficult as that is, will be the only answer a child can understand in how to survive it. And because there's a trickle down effect. That child that doesn't deal with the bullying as a child then becomes an adult. And how they dealt with things as a child, they'll deal with things as an adult, right? And now you're being a poisonous, toxic person to others because you don't want to be bullied, so you're going to bully other people because you didn't ever want it to happen again. The best way for bullying never to happen again is to be the bully. And that's the cycle that we need to break.
Man. So how would you recommend, like, a little 13-year-old, whatever grade that is? Is that junior high? I don't even know what year that would be.
I don't know. It's a lot of years ago since I was 13. Well, and it's funny because, you know, I'm mentioning this, but loosely I'm mentioning it. I have a kid's book that I am sitting on, and it deals with this exact subject. And so I'm just going to say this. No matter what, whether your school is a no violence, no hitting school, or maybe your dance team has a no violence policy, at some point in time, bullies become, there's hands-on, there's hands, there's touching, right? You know what I mean? Like, at some point in time, the bully's going to push, not verbally, but physically. And at that stage, the second, again, this is building up, right? I'm a 13-year-old. I've had shit and abuse coming, excuse my language. I've had people just yelling at me, screaming at me, you're useless, whatever. And then they push. I'm going to say, yes, haul off and punch them square in the face. Just once. Now, as a result of that, you're probably going to get your ass kicked. Without a doubt. The minute you hit a bully, you're going to get your ass kicked. However, stand up when you finish bleeding and know that no matter what, you showed them that at some point in time, you're going to go batshit crazy and you're going to punch people out. Now, I'm not saying that to hold it in and then all of a sudden you get people shooting up schools or being violent, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at some point in time you've used words didn't cut it. Smack them once, smack them twice, whatever. The worst that's going to happen now, again, there's assault charges and all of this stuff. I get it. I don't have a legal answer, but I have an emotional one, because when you do not fight back, it sits inside of you and it festers, and there's a little voice that goes, "You're a pussy. You're nothing. You're weak." All the little whispering. And then if you'll go two directions, you'll either kill yourself or you'll get so angry that your response really will be beyond, you'll do something that you can't take back. And so what I teach all people, men, women, children, doesn't matter, is when violence comes your way, verbal violence or physical, stand up, look them in the eye, and fight back, knowing full well that you're probably going to get your ass kicked. But you will not have that voice whispering that you didn't fight back. At least you fought back once. And that there's a huge nuclear event that happens inside of us the minute we stand up for ourselves and fight back. It's something that there's no metric for it. The empowering motion that comes in that says, you know what, I'm in the hospital, I got my ass kicked, but I gave it the best I could at that given time. Given the knowledge I knew or didn't have, I fought to the best of my ability. And there's something
definitely something
helps
powerful
with the
there.
healing on that.
At least there's no what if, right? What if I fought back?
No, yeah, that what if is the cancerous thing that haunts our subconscious.
So you mentioned punching him straight in the face. Being a Krav guy, how would you actually hit him in the face?
Well, and if you remember the high fives,
There you go.
Yeah, simple. High five them in the face. If you're not sure how to high five them in the face, go buy 100 Deadly Skills Combat Edition, the book. There's a QR code that has videos to it. You'll get all your information there free of charge. Well, whatever it costs for the book. But you've trained with me. It's crazy easy. The hard part is finding the internal fortitude, mental and physical fortitude, to commit to the action. Because the bullies are banking on the fact that you will allow fear to stop you from fighting back. And the fear is nothing more than the enemy going into that subconscious going, you've never trained a day in your life. They're bigger than you. You're going to get hit. You're going to hit them. They're going to laugh at you. Then you're going to go to the hospital, and all the garbage that's in the hair that's being whispered in. And that's why I say just palm heel them in the face or punch them in the face, whatever. I like palm healing. Smash them in the face once, and that at least says you no longer get to sit there and talk to me that way without.
So what has been with all this? I know that you're very much you have a very sensitive heart, though you're very good at training and fighting and all that. I know you're a very sensitive and loving person. It's very clear. What has been the most special group of people that you've trained so far?
I think anytime I've worked with people who are handicapped, I've been blessed to be able to work in a couple of different scenarios where basically people who are living assisted, and there's a plethora of different people with challenges, whether they're deaf, they're in chairs, they have some type of physical handicap or a mental handicap. Working with them only because of this. It's not about what you can't do. It's about what you can do. And when you're dealing with somebody in a wheelchair and their whole life, listen, a person in a wheelchair knows that if they get bullied by an able-bodied person, they're going to get their ass kicked. They know it. So the self-defense that they're taught has nothing to do with whether or not they'll successfully navigate their way through the violent waters of violence. No. It's about them feeling normal, whatever the heck normal is, about being like all the other kids, and the fact that they can do something that they were told or thought that they could never do, which is reply to violence with a physical action. And that's really all I do in my life is teach people that they can respond to violence with a physical action, very simple movements, to create the opportunity for escape, or to create the opportunity to look their enemy in the face and say, you don't get to do that to me anymore.
It's really cool, man.
Now, I'm glad you're recording this, because I couldn't possibly repeat that because I didn't say it. That didn't come from me. All right? That was not, I don't even know what I just said,
Yeah,
but I know
beautiful.
It was a good one because it feels
it
good
really
in my
is.
heart.
I've loved to see your stuff with, all the people you're training in wheelchairs and such. It really is something that they have probably been told and or thought that they would never be able to do, at least fend off for a moment and have that chance to escape. So that is awesome. And
Yeah. And, you're not, and listen, you're not going to, when violence really wants to happen, Kevin, regardless whether you're able-bodied or have a disability, when violence really wants to happen, it's going to happen. And you're not going to be able to do anything to stop it except fight back to the best of your ability. And it's that fighting back that is going to change your pattern of how you respond to violence from here on out. Did I fight back? Did I have the ability to fight back? Did I do the best that I could? If you answered yes, you can live with the repercussions of the action. It's when you don't fight back that the insecurity, fear, and doubt will sit there and gnaw at you like a rat on cheese for the rest of your life. And that, my friend, is unacceptable.
Okay, so how do you say, if you're in front of a group of kids, and I'm really targeting the kid piece for you, because man, the kids just aren't empowered and trained and everything like that. So how do they empower themselves in this horrid, violent high school they're going to?
Well, and it's when you're talking to a bunch of people who, the fact is if high school or school right now, think of it like a prison, right? It's easy for me to sit there and stand up in front and say, okay, everybody, front kick, palm heel strike, blah, blah, blah. And then I leave. Well, you know what? They still got to go to school the next day. They still got to do all that other stuff. So the only thing that you can teach them moves, you can do whatever. But the fact is you need to tell them, to anybody who's listening to this, that one, that parents, if you're listening, support your kids, because they know you don't know half the bullies that are happening. You don't know half of what's going on because they're not telling you. To the kids that are listening, or if you happen to hear this and you're getting bullied, look, no matter what, it's not going to stop, no matter how nice you are to it or how much you try to ignore it. Running away doesn't happen, and you can't. So you're going to have to look whoever it is in the face and let them know this isn't happening anymore. They're going to laugh. They're going to make fun of you. And then you're going to have to square up and headbutt them or punch them or do something. You're going to be suspended from school. You're going to probably have a whole bunch of problems. But no matter what, the only way you can escape violence is by looking it in the face. You cannot run away from it at all. And I'm going to say this to anybody who's young listening to this. You're not alone. You are enough. And no matter what they say or what they do, nothing that they're saying is fact. It's an opinion. They can say whatever they want about you, but you have value on this earth, and you're going to fight for your value. Because if nobody else is going to do it for you, which they're not, you have to stand up for yourself, because nobody's coming to save you except you.
Man. I'm going to have you come to Utah more than just teaching my women's self-defense course. I'm going to get you in front of these boys I coach in soccer. Have them change the world.
Yeah. What makes me, what kind of breaks my heart is that with all the technology and evolution that we're supposed to have had in the time I'm 53. So let's just say in the last 40 years, we've regressed in our nurturing of children. children need structure. They need boundaries. They need beatings. They need nurturing. They need love. And the reason that the enemy has been so good in this generation is because we're not allowing our children to be whoever they are. A child gets out of line, you say, hey, you know what? Don't do that again, or you're going to take a smack. Yeah. Smack. Okay. I pushed too far. I took a beating. I'm not going to do that again. Teachers, I'm not even like, school in itself has always been a war zone. It has not changed since the evolution of school. There's always going to be a shitty experience in school. However, when you know that you've got the protection and backing of loved ones, and you know that inside of you is this incredible phoenix, that inside of you is ready to sit there, and that no matter what happens to you, you can rise up because inside you've been nurtured with love and compassion and a beating and boundaries and all this stuff. And we've regressed. And I know we've regressed because if you look at children, simple things of opening a door, helping somebody with their groceries. I make a joke that the minute we stopped returning our carts back at Walmart, that was the demise of humanity. But there's good ethics that still need to happen. When you have somebody that's elderly, help them out. Shake hands, looking somebody in the eye. When a woman walks by with large breasts, don't stare. Don't look her in the eyes. When a man, there's all these things that if we could just bottle it up and make all of us drink it, there's right and there's wrong. And everybody knows what's right or wrong, and they make a choice whether or not which direction they wanted to go. And there should be firm repercussions. I don't know what the positive word of repercussions is, but there should be, if you do right, you should be not rewarded, but acknowledged that you did right. And if you did wrong, you should be
acknowledged.
Acknowledged for doing wrong.
Yeah.
Acknowledged, And like, I'm going to tell you right now, when I was a kid, I used to, you're 10 or 11 or 12 and you're swearing all the time, and I'm on a bus and I'm talking like stupid stuff. And I remember I was on a bus and this guy cuffed me in the back of the head so hard that my head snapped forward. And I looked back and he said, you need to shut up with that. Do you think I cussed after that? I did not. Tears were coming down my face because I didn't know that I was doing something wrong. I thought I was being cool. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay to hit kids or any of that before anybody loses their mind. But we need to find some kind of a balance where good kids should be acknowledged and kids that don't know any better need to be educated pretty quick. Because they're doing horrific things to other
I remember
kids.
Even with when I was little, I remember just sitting on the side of the road throwing rocks into the road. And it was, earlier 2000s when if an adult drove by, they'd tell you what's going on. They wouldn't just ignore it because you're not allowed to parent other people's kids now. But I remember a lady got out of the car and she didn't lay a hand on me or anything, but she told me that what I was doing was wrong. I'd never seen this lady in my life. It scared the crap out of me. And I never sat on the sidewalk throwing rocks in the road anymore. Yeah. Really not a huge deal, but she told me not to do it, and it scared me.
Yeah. And I think that there's something to that. Again, human beings, we are the only species that God has created that can ruin good things faster than you can say ruin something. Like, we're just, as a species, we're designed to screw up great things. So when I say this, I know full well that somebody's going to misunderstand it. It's supposed to be a village, raising children. It's supposed to be a village. We're all supposed to work together. And this planet, I'm going to cuss here because there's no other word in the English language to describe it. But this world is simply good people and assholes. And the beautiful part about a-holes is there's no race, color, creed, job, nothing. It doesn't matter. They're just assholes. And the problem is the assholes are this amount and the good people are this amount, that just the assholes are able to sit there and do more damage. And the damage they do is like a rippling effect, like a rock in the water. And the a-holes of the planet are the cancer of our humanity. And I'm making it clear that there's no, it's not a job, it's not a person, a place, it's not, it's a species yes. of human beings that ruin it for everybody else. And I believe while there is some people who are just born evil, it's learned behavior. We're not born to be racist. If you watch kids as 2 and 3 year olds, you put a whole bunch of them, different races, color, creed, doesn't matter. You put them together and they're going to be good until the one kid who's raised with negativity, whatever you want to call it. And then all it takes, they hear a word, they say a word, and now and that's us as a species. There is no, it's never going to change. I want to make sure we're clear about this. What I'm saying is never going to change, ever, 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 until the world changes, meaning it's gone and they start over again. Us as a species, we're doomed to have that behavior unless more people come together and try to do good against the not so good.
Right.
I try to go easy on the evil.
No, I agree though.
Freaks people out.
It really is something that it's not just going to go away unless the earth, turns to dust. And then it will, because we'll be gone.
Yep. And I'll be dead and buried.
So I wanted to get onto some of the Krav stuff and just kind of speak of the significance of what you've done there, especially like with the time of year it is now. We're getting really excited for 2023 when you come to town and help some of our people out. And what's the significance of it's probably a really stupid question, but just so we all know exactly what you're talking about, the Israeli piece, becoming the first non-Israeli there. What was it like? I don't even know how to ask the question because there's probably so much that goes into it.
Well, yeah, it's not a stupid question because I said it and people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So like anything, there's different organizations and different things, just like NBA, hockey, sports, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything's got an organization. And I was blessed to be a part of an organization based out of Israel called the International Krav Maga Federation. And in that federation, which I started as a student, we have an instructor's team. And the team travels the world to share how we teach Krav Maga to the masses around the world. For people, not everybody can come to Israel. And that team has layers, right? Now it's changed since I retired, but the bottom line is we had a global instructors team, and the global instructors team was a group of Israelis that were trained specifically to go and educate other nations, other countries on how to instruct people in Krav Maga. And traditionally it was Israelis only. Being the first person to be on that elite team, my words, elite team, was a gift, and it allowed me an opportunity I got way more than I ever gave. I'll just say that, right? Because I became an extremely far more educated instructor because of being able to travel to all these different places around the world, different cultures, different people, different experiences, working with translators. It helped me so that, for example, when I show up in February, it gives me lots of stuff to pull out of a toolbox because not everybody learns the same way. I teach Kevin one way, which you kind of got an idea of that when I worked with you the last time. You know, we had a whole bunch of different types of people. So I find one baseline. I find the most common denominator of a technique or movement that everybody can do, and then fine tune it. And I would only have been able to do any of what I'm doing now with having that 10 years of experience of being able to go around the world and just pass on information. Nowadays, I teach more or less. I mean, it is definitely Krav Maga because Krav Maga has influenced me huge. But I also have, 4 decades of martial arts. I have 2 decades of working in nightclubs. Growing up as a little shiznit head who ran with gangs and dealt with real world violence and had real world violence on. So when I teach now, I just teach the most effective tool possible to get the job done for men and women to create an opportunity to escape that violent encounter, do some damage, do whatever you can, and get out of there. And that's what I'll be doing.
Well, and that was one of the greatest things when I first met you is I had been trained in Krav before with one of the groups. And then the next time I was training with you, and not saying the first training was bad at all, but it's easy to get confused with this type of training when they're saying these different types of moves you're going to do. And like, if someone's got a gun up to you, it's like, you're going to disarm them. It's going to be super sexy. You're going to turn that gun on them. It's like when you came and taught, it's like if someone played this, not even a fight, this scramble in slow motion, everyone would be like, that's what a fight looks like? What's going on? What's he doing? It's very simple.
Yeah.
A lot of violence in a short amount of time and escape.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the truth is, Kevin, I love my fellow instructors, and I love martial arts. And I love anybody who is positively impacting human beings against violence. But I take a real idiot's guide to self-defense on everything. If it's not simple and you can't learn it in 5 minutes, I'm not going to do it. If you ask any man or woman who's had violence in their life, domestic violence or doesn't matter, violence, and you say to them, hey, I'm going to give you, this movement, you're going to get it in about 6 months. They're going to look at you like you've got 3 eyes. I don't have 6 months. I've got 6 minutes because my fill in the blank is going to come home and they're going to come and beat me and I need to sit there, right? You know what I'm saying, right? So, and that's the same for kids. See, here's the one thing. People expect me to teach kids, women, men, military, law enforcement, spec ops. They expect me to teach differently to all these people. I don't. Because human beings all react to violence in some way, the exact same way. So instead of I do this technique for you and this technique for you, I take this technique and then expound on it depending on the individual that I'm working with. A high five to the face is the exact same for your wife as it will be for the law enforcement officer down the street. The difference is what happens after the palm heel strike. Your wife runs away. Law enforcement guy gets some space and draws his weapon or goes to his tools or gets on his radio. Right? Foreign land, you're a soldier, you palm heel strike, you get out of the way, and then you engage whatever your rules of engagement are to dealing with that enemy. The fight is the same. The violence is the same. It's I respond, now pause and fill in the blank for however your life is in your lifestyle. That's the ending that's going to be after the onslaught of violence. But the one commonality is I need to fight to create an opportunity to escape, go to tools, whatever that basically it's, whatever that answer is going to be depending on what you do for a living. For you and I, it's escape. For women, it's escape, or get the kids free, or whatever. I mean, it's really simplistic. The problem is people want to complicate it because sexy sells. I don't have time for sexy sells. I have time for, I want to make sure that if you go to the hospital, that you're smiling through your IVs and your broken teeth and your messed up face because you looked violence in the eye, spat at it, and said, no more.
So with sexy selling, are there any movies in the world that have a good fight scene? Somebody asked me that at a meeting
Funny,
today.
You should bring that up, Kevin. I say funny because my editor for the magazine I write for just asked me to write an article on, best fight scenes in a movie. He said, I got a topic. And so, I've got about 6 or 7 of them in my head. But I'll say this. The most unrealistic but sexy that we enjoy watching, hands down, John. Without a doubt.
Beautifully rehearsed.
It is the most ridiculous, useless. I mean, oh my goodness. It is called gun fu for a reason. It's an actual, it's become for movies. They took it and now everybody's doing it some way, shape, or form. But for me, some of the most violent or the best fight scenes are the ones that are the most simplistic. If you see one where somebody punches somebody in the throat and the throat cracks and they're like, that to me, that's the best fight scene. But it's not sexy, which is the reason why Jason Bourne movies, everybody loved Jason Bourne movies, right? Because, there was all these cool moves. I'm a big believer in never do, I don't want to, I take, what's it called? I don't know who said it, but whoever said never use a $20 word when a $2 word will do. And I take that to self-defense. I'm not going to do some $20 movement when I know I can get one for 50 cents and it's just as effective. And punching somebody in the throat is effective. Now, there's dangers that go with it. Don't anybody jump on me with legalities. But you want to shut somebody up? Hit them in the eyeball. That
kick to the balls is better than a roundhouse kick.
Yeah. Kick to the balls definitely. A flick to the balls will do better than a roundhouse kick.
So with man, I didn't know if I was even going to ask you that movie question, but it came to my head, so I had to because you mentioned things being sexy.
Well, I'm glad you did. Yeah. Well, listen, that's a great, in the conversation that you're talking about in a meeting, that's where you respond and then say, what do you think? And all of a sudden you get a real taste of people's movie taste for violence by what they watch. Everyone will say John Wick, but there's some obscure ones where some people have come up and been like, well, what about this movie? It's a foreign movie or this. I'm always interested in what people are interested in, right? So I get a question and immediately I go and ask a question. Well, what's your favorite scene? And if they're being honest, which is tough sometimes in the corporate area, you get to see some great insights into people when all of a sudden they're sitting there like, well, I saw The Professional and I loved when the cleaner was whacking 900 guys and was blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So when people, I obviously meet with a ton of people in my field of work. And a very common thing is like, oh, my kid can do whatever sport they want as long as they know how to defend themselves. And I'm the same way with my daughter. I'm like, she needs to know how to defend herself. She can be a dancer. She can be a figure skater. I don't care what it is, but she needs to know how to get out of a violent situation if she needs to. But I may be wrong here, but how effective is something like Taekwondo that so many kids do?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, so I think it's a good question. And if I'm asked, okay, what's the best thing for somebody to learn? Okay, let's say what's the best self-defense somebody should learn? I'm going to tell them wrestling.
Okay.
Wrestling. Hands down. Boy, girl, doesn't matter. It's because of what that sport teaches. A wrestler of any shape, size, or form, mm-hmm. they're not to be trifled with. Bad things happen. Now, if you're like, okay, well, you have a choice between, okay, I can't wrestle. Boxing. Put them in the ring. The reason I picked those two is because in both of those, there's contact between two people. Mm-hmm. I mean, serious contact. You're getting punched in the face. You're getting slammed to the mat. It's not like jiu-jitsu. And I love jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is great. I love it. Okay? And there's a lot of value to it. And I highly recommend it. But what kids being also all humans, need to know is mm-hmm. what it's like to be punched in the face, what it's like to slam on the ground, what it's like to hurt from controlled violence.
Yes.
Because then you're not afraid of it. And when you're not afraid of something, it doesn't have any power over you. Which is why, do you remember that game, the slapping game?
Mm-hmm.
Did I do that with you guys? Okay. And I don't know, we might do it when I see you in February. It depends. But it's the enemy violence. When violence comes towards you, the one advantage that the enemy has over you or me or anybody else is their swimming pool is consistently dealing with violence. And usually they're the agitator, so they're in the winning position, which means the other person is always in the losing position, which is what we're all afraid of. We're all afraid of, as adults or children, we're afraid of being beaten in public because we're going to have shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to get our ass kicked in public. And that is more of a stronghold than the actual beating itself. So if you take Taekwondo, I want to make sure that, you're sparring and you're getting kicked in the face. I want to see, if you're taking karate, I want it to have some impact. If you're taking jiu-jitsu, I mean, rolling in shark pits, left, right, and center, and you're getting your ass kicked. Because here's the truth. And I could probably stop the podcast after this. When a child is so used to being in a ring, and I'm just using the ring for your visualization, okay? When a child is so used to being in the ring and getting their ass kicked on a regular basis and dealing out a beating and receiving a beating, they walk with a confidence, not an arrogance. They walk with a confidence of, when I get pushed, really? You think that push is going to intimidate me? I've been punched in the face all last night. It was punch Marcus in the face night. Your push, I'm not afraid anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of getting punched in the face. I'm not afraid of whatever you think you're going to intimidate me with. You got 3 guys?
Yeah.
Well, one of you is going to the hospital. I don't know which one, but one of you is going to the hospital. I'm going to the hospital, and one of you is coming with me. When we can take the fear out of a child's head and heart, they will succeed in this life. And the only way to get rid of fear is to throw them in the deep end of the pool. Mm-hmm. Scalable, right? Scaling their depths into the pool, letting them drown a little bit, pulling them out, teach them how to swim, then throw them deep end. Oh shit, okay, whoop, pull it out. So that they're not afraid. And when they're not afraid, the enemy has no control or power over them. And it's the hardest thing, Kevin, to teach a human being.
I believe it. Even having my 2-year-old, I'm like, man, what do I do?
Yeah. And the key thing is, and I'm a big believer in, fall down, get up. Yep, you're bleeding. Let's wipe it off. Yep, shed a tear. Let that tear out. Yep, good. Because you're just scared and you're embarrassed. Most of the time we cry because we're embarrassed. Okay, good. Go play in traffic. Good. Bang, bang. Okay, good. Because it's important that we don't put our fears, insecurities onto our children. And that's the problem as a parent we have. I'm worried about, I don't know, I'm worried about chameleons. I don't know. I don't want to paint an animal. I'm scared of chameleons. Every time I see a chameleon, I'm scared. What is my kid going to do? They see my reaction. They assume that's normal. They're going to be scared of chameleons.
Yeah.
That is unfair. And that's where we need to break generational curses and generational behaviors. And the best way to do that is, if I'm afraid of getting hit, I'm going to take my kid. And more importantly, you go and get some training and take it at the same time. So they see mom and dad sweating, and you have one more thing to get in common. Oh my goodness, I rolled with Mr. So-and-so, and man, he kicked my butt. And the kid's like, yeah, I like it when he kicks my butt. And you're like, yeah, but I'm 52 and you're 5. But what families forget is, when you do a physical, especially when it comes to combatives, when you're all under the same roof in some way, shape, or form, and you're all experiencing this empowering single finger salute towards violence, all of a sudden fear can't come into your house. Yeah. It can't come into your children, because you've had the discussions. You've come home from a sparring class and your eyes swollen and you're like, I got to go and explain to this board meeting. I was at Fight Club, but I can't say it was Fight Club because we don't talk about Fight Club. Okay. And we're laughing, but there's no matter what, I'm always going to come from, what can I do or teach or say that takes power away from the enemy? Fear feeds on our insecurities, embarrassments, and ego. What can I do to get rid of those things so that the fear will not have that power over that person? Because anytime I can beat fear through somebody, I'm winning and they're winning and fear's losing. And winning and losing, I hate to break it to you, no participation trophies here. I want fear to lose, and I'll do whatever I can to make fear lose, through other people, through myself, through podcasts, through videos, through books. I don't care. I want fear to lose, because fear can go kick rocks.
Well, thank you for that.
Yep.
You know what I need to do after we get off? I need to go have one of my buddies punch me in the face, because it's been a while. Forgot what it feels like.
Yeah. And the best thing is, get those big 16-ounce gloves. I mean, the ones where, you almost need a license to drag them. And just you'd have to like put cement in those things to actually have any hurt. But it's simple punching in the face. And women, I can hear the eyes rolling back. Ladies, that goes double for you to have, because see, the problem is men and women, our motivation is different. A woman from birth is told that whatever is here, and for those that are hearing this, I'm touching my face, that's your definition. That's how you're welcomed in our planet, is how you look. And I'm not doing anything to this face, which is the reason why when violent people come to women, the best place I can put a knife is right by their face. I put a knife by a woman's face and she'll do whatever I want her to. I put a knife by a man's scrotum, he's going to do whatever I want him to. Because our manhood is judged by our groin, and a woman's womanhood is judged by her face. And it's not right and it's wrong, but the enemy knows. Yep. The enemy knows what buttons to push. So let's take that power away from them. Now, I'm not saying that I think every man should go and have a razor by their testicles, just, in any way, shape, or form. There's no cool way of doing that. But females, get accustomed to taking a little roughness going on with your bodies so that you're not afraid. This is it's falling on deaf ears with you because you've experienced what I'm talking about. It's hard to explain it in this arena because it's going to sound ludicrous, right? It sounds insane, but you've experienced it. So hopefully you'll talk to people and make them understand where we're going.
Tune in on this and figure it out. Thanks a lot for this today. Yeah. This was awesome. Yeah. I think we were at such a great note with what you said about when you were like, I think I could end the podcast after I say this. It's so true. I think that that just gives me an amazing idea, like to go and have my wife knows what I've done and what I continually do, but she's never actually like seen me do any of these things. And to have my wife seeing me maybe getting my ass kicked sparring, it's pretty good. Seeing your husband getting punched in the face, maybe
Yep.
her
Yep.
sparring with another gal. It
Yep.
just, yeah, I guess just experiencing it and getting face to face with someone who wants to hurt you more.
You know, I'm going to use when you find out somebody's afraid of swimming, right? When they're afraid of swimming, do you throw them in the deep end of the pool? Nope. You let them take 1 foot in and then 1 toe in. And it's a scalable, very long-term investment in beating that fear. But the best way to do it is to acknowledge what the fear is. And there goes shame and guilt and embarrassment. And then surrounding yourself in a safe environment with people who will nurture the empowering and help slaughter the fear and all the garbage that comes with it. And it takes, for some it's a long-term thing, and some people it's quick. And that's the beautiful part about being a human being is we all are going to deal with our garbage and our fear garbage in whatever way we have to. The key is to be surrounded by a group of people who will hold your hand when that happens. I'm not talking necessarily physically, but emotionally hold your hand and say, hey, you got this. You got it. Let's go. And I got a fear of heights. Well, shit. How's the 6th floor doing? I'm nervous. Okay, let's stay on the 6th floor. I can do the 7th floor. Let's go to the 7th floor. Go to the Empire State Building. Whatever it takes so fear loses and it's healthy in the way that you deal with it, then right on. I'm all for it.
Man. Well, I'm excited to see what we do in this coming year. I think we're going to get you out here quite a bit in front of quite a bit of people, because we really need to. It's crazy how many people don't know how to defend themselves. And I guess maybe it's everyone. I guess it's the majority of people think that it's not going to happen to them. Just like a lot of the bad things in life, we all think we're invincible to it till it happens. You don't get the windshield repair on your insurance, and then you get a rock chip that day.
That's right. Yeah. Everything's reactive. And that's the funny thing when I sit there and I tell people, have you got life insurance? And they're like, of course I have life insurance. I'm like, well, why? Why do you have it? Well, I have to have it. Or whatever their answer is. I'm like, well, learning to self-protect yourself is it's just insurance, man. I won't get attacked, Kev. Okay? I won't get attacked ever. It's very low percentages. And not because I'm but because I'm aware, because I'm focused on what my environment, because I give off if you mess with me, we're all going to the hospital and I'm going to have your DNA all over me, because I'll have ears, eyeballs, and scrotums all with me in my pockets, even if I'm in intensive care. That mentality permeates, or whatever, I'm trying to say all fancy now, but I ooze that mentality. Which means that the enemy is going to be like, well, you know what? Yeah. That's just a pain in the ass right there. I don't want to mess with him. And all I want to do when I get the opportunities like the one I'll be doing in February is I just want you to be a pain in the ass. That's where being a nightmare for bad guys really came from. I want you to just be not worth the headaches. So they just pass on and they'll go to another person. You know? Yeah, you're not worth the headache. Oh my goodness, that has got crazy written all over it. Yes, I want men, women, and children to be an absolute nightmare for the enemy in any way, shape, or form, whatever that means. And we're talking physically. I'm talking about school. I'm talking about your online presence. I'm talking about any time fear, insecurity, anything negative comes towards you. I want you to be a nightmare for them. And that comes from up here in your
Yep.
head and in your heart.
Freaking awesome.
Yep.
I love you, man. Anything else
You're
you want to
awesome,
leave
Kev.
us
I
with?
love you. You're
I
absolutely
know,
awesome.
I know that we could go on for hours, but what's that?
I'm excited for February. Okay, well, I'm excited for February. I'm excited. I pray that the ladies of your area see that they have value and worth, and that we will give them some tools to accentuate that value and worth, so that they'll never have to use it. And if they do have to use it, well, then they'll be able to use it. And it's for everybody. You don't need any physical ability. You need to be able to breathe. If you can breathe and walk, you're doing fine.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks for leaving us with so much, man. It's amazing how much knowledge you can dump on me in an hour. Sometimes you got to go like 3-4 hours, but I'm really excited to give it a listen and for everyone to hear this. It's really important. And I'm sure you realize that, but I have been so just insanely excited about this. It's so important, for the bullied to hear things, the bullies to hear things, the people who just need to realize that being able to defend yourself is another insurance policy for you and your family. And I appreciate your time, man. Yeah. Love you very much, and I'm grateful to know you.
I'm just going to go with ditto, because I don't know how else to respond, so I'm going to go with ditto.
I love you. Say it back, man.
You're a good man. I love you. And I do love you, Kevin. And not just do I love you, but I appreciate you. And I appreciate you making a difference. You're making a difference. And I pray that many who listen to this, regardless of where they are in their life, if they can just hear this and see Kevin is making this action. He's dropping the rock in this water, and the ripples will happen from this. And if every one of us will just drop that rock in the water, we'll have tsunamis of love, grace, compassion, and the ability to look fear in the face and say, I got a single finger salute for you, buddy. Sir. You do not have the power over me. And it starts with actions with what you're doing, Kev. I pray that people wake up and do the same thing.